For the first time in my life, I have power, and I intend to use it. Quote the Vulture. Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, Issue 241. In the beginning, Spider-Man has been knocked out after attempting to stop the Vulture from kidnapping Gregory Bestman. As the villain escapes, the police, led by Lieutenant Chris Keaton, comes crashing into the Tech Expo. There they learn about the Bestman kidnapping, and much to everyone's surprise, Spider-Man is still alive. Keaton chastises Spider-Man for letting the Vulture go free. He goes too far when he mentions how the Black Cat is in a hospital after getting shot. Spider-Man insists that he will capture the Vulture for them and takes one of Keaton's walkie-talkies and leaps away. When the other officers ask if they should shoot, but Keaton orders them to hold their fire. Keaton begins trying to hail Spider-Man on the walkie-talkie. Spider-Man tells him to cool it. As it turns out, the wall crawler managed to tag the Vulture with a spider tracer before he escaped. Needing to get close enough to pick up the signal, Spider-Man took the walkie-talkie so he could hear any of Vulture's sightings on the police band, so narrow his search. While Spider-Man continues his hunt at Penn Station, Anna Watson and his niece Mary Jane have just returned to New York City from Florida. Meanwhile, the Vulture is seen flying past a ship near Staten Island, and the sighting is radioed in. Wondering how he can get there quickly, Spider-Man spots some police helicopters speeding by and hitches a ride on them. The police helicopters catch up to the Vulture, who hides in a forest to evade detection. However, Spider-Man is able to pick up his spider tracer and tracks the Vulture to an unassuming looking grain silo. Spider-Man leaps from the helicopter, creating a web parachute to land nearby. At the moment, the Vulture is watching the police helicopters continue on. Having not seen Spider-Man, he assumes that he is safe. Outside, Spider-Man climbs into the silo and discovers the Vulture's secret hideout. Inside, the Vulture has Gregory Bestman tied up in a chair. When Bestman comes around, he realizes he's captured by the Vulture was not a dream. The villain was kidnapped Bestman in order to get revenge against him, as they used to be business partners. Adrian recounts how they started up a company, B&T Electronics, years ago. Gregory promised that the business profits from their work were going right back into the company so that Toomes could continue his research. Soon after, Adrian finished work on his electromagnetic harness that he would eventually use in his criminal career. When Adrian went to inform Bestman about his success, he found his office unlocked and empty. Looking at the papers on Gregory's desk, Adrian was shocked to discover the companies were making even greater profits than Bestman had said. Angrily confronting his partner, Adrian was surprised to discover the harness increased his strength. Adrian stopped himself, but he could harm Bestman, who ordered Toomes out and said that he was finished. Adrian soon discovered that Bestman had ownership of the whole company, and so he used what little money he had left to retire. Hungry for revenge, Toomes perfected his harness and fashioned his Vulture costume. His first criminal act was destroying the B&T Electronics building, ruining Bestman's business in the process. Before the Vulture can harm Bestman, Spider-Man intervenes and reveals that the entire tale was heard over the police band thanks to Keaton's walkie-talkie. With his revenge scheme foiled, the Vulture attempts to make a break for it, throwing Bateman from the sky. Spider-Man manages to save Gregory with a web net. Meanwhile, the Vulture tries to create another distraction by forcing a helicopter to crash land. While the police are busy dealing with the crash, the Vulture tries to lose himself in a nearby forest. But Spider-Man thought to himself, I'm too close to the ground for any web swinging, but these low branches will do just fine. Kazar's got nothing on me. He skillfully swung on the low branches and landed on the back of the Vulture, saying, excuse me, is this seat taken? Spider-Man, always quick with a quip, cracked a joke as Vulture aimed him towards a tree limb, hoping it would hit him in the back. Spider-Man's spider sense tingled, alerting him to danger. Swiftly, he leaped off the Vulture's back. Meanwhile, the Vulture thought to himself, that must have knocked him good and silly. I'll worry more about him later. The Vulture thinks to himself, right now I must concentrate on that accursed webbing of his blocking the way ahead and to the sides and above. Spider-Man had skillfully created a cocoon webbing, effectively trapping the Vulture. Spider-Man swiftly launched another attack, targeting the back of the Vulture. This time he focused on ripping off the power pack that powered the villain's wings, effectively putting a halt to the Vulture's ability to fly. Webbing up his foe, Spider-Man then turns Toomes over to Chris Keating and his officers. In the aftermath of the battle, Bestman tries to throw a punch at Toombs, but is stopped by Spider-Man. Keating, having heard of Bestman's shady business practices, tells Gregory that he and the district attorney will look into current business dealings, as his current partners would be interested in shady operations he might be involved in. During this whole exchange, Spider-Man's camera is snapping away photos from its vantage point in a tree. Later, Peter Parker is happy to see that his photos made the front page of the Daily Bugle. His thoughts are interrupted by the arrival of Amy Powell, who insists that Peter join her for coffee. Peter thinks that he doesn't need another romantic entanglement, but decides to go along just to humor her. Their departure is seen by Lance Bannon, who is fed up with Parker's interference in his career and romance life and vows to do something. Next issue, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, Issue 242, Confrontations.